This episode of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by AN Hosting. Get yourselves ready for the survival horror game, Shadows of the Damned.
Talking about today is Shadows of the Damned.
Well done.
Garnet told me to do that. Of course, Alex is still traveling, so we have Shack News' own game media luminary.
Whoa, I've been
Garnet Lee,
Thank you,
who,
sir.
of course, hopefully you know from We Can Confirm to numerous other places. He's filling in for Alex today. But we're talking about Shadows of the Damned, which is Suda51's newest game. Suda51, of course, the game designer who brought us Killer 7, the No More Heroes games, a very unique take on genre game making. And of course, Shadows of the Damned is no exception there. Shadows of the Damned, you play Garcia Hotspur, or as you like to say,
Garcia. Well, I don't
you
know
can say fucking
Garcia fucking Hotspur.
Yes, this is an M-rated game through and through. Garcia, of course, has a girlfriend. His girlfriend, sadly, is pulled down to hell, and he goes diving after her. And the game takes place in a messed up version of hell where you have little baby faces that you feed strawberries to. You've got blood and gore. It's an awesome version of hell, and it's a wry, humorous take. What is ostensibly a shooter. You have machine gun, you've got pistol, you've got shotgun, but all those weapons are your best friend, Johnson. Write your own jokes, folks. Johnson talks to you. He's made out of bone. He talks to you and is your sidekick and makes hilarious quips.
He's got a great accent too, doesn't he?
He does have a great accent, yes. This game is full of little stuff like that. Garnet, I know you're a big fan of this game.
Absolutely.
Tell me why you like Shadows of the Damned.
So you got to get if you're going to get Suda in there, you have to get the rest of the team, which is Shinji Mikami, who was producer on Resident Evil 2, among other things, and then Akira Yamaoka, who does all of the music. And the soundtrack alone really warrants, I think, discussion because it's all over the place. It's very scene setting because the sound gives you, at the beginning, it sets the mood with this Spanish nylon guitar. Then throughout the game, it has that hard rocking, crunchy guitar sound when you're fighting the zombies. And then, probably we were just talking about when you have the big boner. It's so hard to say that without laughing. When you have the big boner, it has like this jazzy, cool interlude music, right?
Yeah.
And I think that part of what I like about this game is that Suda's stuff has always been crazy, and it's been hard to get a grasp of it. It's like, what am I doing? How am I keeping up with this? Here, I'm playing a shooter. I have a gun. I aim it at the zombie things and I shoot them. And by having that frame of reference, now I can enjoy all the other part. It's like if there's just too much sensory overload, it's hard to parse everything. But in this case, I know that the creative part's over here, and the shooter part's over here, and the shooter part gives me the foundation to play the game and enjoy it.
Just got a vocabulary that you're
Yeah,
comfortable
that's a great way
with
to
as
put
a
it.
gamer, and then he can layer upon that all the wacky, crazy
Which
Suda
he
stuff.
doesn't hold back on.
Yeah, and I think that you were saying there's enough variety for you to make it an interesting game experience start to finish.
Oh, absolutely. I think what you find is that there are a lot of experiments, and more often than not, they work. There are a couple of pieces that are a little rough. There's a chase sequence that comes up 3 times that is absolutely heinous. It's just awful. It's an insta-death kill if you get caught in it. It's not very much fun to play, and it's not additive. It's not one of these things like some of the other things they do, like the big boner section, and there's a very cool 2D art style like shump part that's in there. Those add to the experience. This chase sequence is just frustrating and annoying, and it gets tired very quickly.
And for you, the good overwhelms the bad.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, Danny.
Yes.
Are you a fan of this kind of thing? It's kind of got this weird Robert Rodriguez mentality.
So what I was going to say was that it is Alan Wake and Resident Evil had a baby, and it's directed by Robert Rodriguez. Because it does have this great, I mentioned Alan Wake because it has this great gimmick of having to fight things in the light. And just like Alan Wake, you have to I love the Resident Evil 4 style controls, which I realized when playing it. Resident Evil 4 was such a big hit. why have we not seen a lot of clones of that?
Oh, we kind of did. I mean, the whole over-the-shoulder guy off to the left started there.
No. But it's different than it's not. You can't shoot and run at the same time, right?
In Resident Evil, you can't until the.
But this game, you couldn't either.
Yeah, you could.
But it's different than that. It's like once you aim, you're in a different mode.
What game is he playing?
I don't know.
It is
you could
different.
dive and jump around.
Yeah, but it's different. It's not like there's no cover. There's no cover mechanic.
Right.
It's
It's definitely more survival horror.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it feels like Resident Evil, where I guess maybe the way I was playing it, which I had a lot of fun doing, was I would like kind of be where I was and then aim where I wanted and had fun shooting limbs, shooting heads, as opposed to hitting in a cover and just shooting at opposing forces. You know what I mean? Like there was much more fun to be had in that aiming system because you have that reticle with the laser sighting and you can sort of choose which thing, and a lot of different weapons that you can upgrade, which in the last few games we've been playing, there hasn't been upgrade progression, I feel. So, and I realized now that it's there, it really is a carrot on the stick, upgrading weapons, and to really feel the progression is so much more important than progression.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But also the game mechanic of having to, when it goes dark, you have to make it light, and there's such a variety of things to do at any one time that I really had fun doing it. And then on top of that, the different sequences, like you said, the big boner sequence where it's basically a first-person shooter for a second, but not even quite that. It's like
It's
very
a
narrowly
shooting gallery.
focused. Yeah,
it's
shooting
a big
gallery,
shooting
exactly.
gallery, and it's all of a sudden on an epic scale because the demons become 3-story monsters that are lumbering towards you. And
I don't particularly like vulgar for vulgar's sake humor, but I would not describe this as that. To me, there is a lot of very vulgar humor, but it really sounds like the voice of the creator. You know, even though it's not my cup of tea, it's going for something,
Right.
and it's always fun to play a really dark game like this with a sense of humor. Otherwise, that's like, why am I in this seedy world? I don't want to be here. But the sense of humor really does lighten it up. So I actually had a ton of fun playing.
Yeah, I liked it too. I liked it a lot, and the action does feel great. It has a wonderful, chunky, satisfying element to just shooting stuff. The enemies are varied and interesting, and there's a lot of different ways to approach killing them, and you can level, as you said, the leveling up your weapons is cool. I found myself liking the world so much that I had wished I could explore it more. That I wished it wasn't such a linear experience going down these corridors and getting to the next scripted moment, I wanted, as I've said elsewhere, I wanted it to be more like Darksiders, really. But it's hard to criticize something for what it isn't. I liked it for what it was. I did feel like some of the mechanics still were a little clumsy. There was still stuff that, you know, I would click on a book or a poster or something, and I would like be stuck looking at it as the guys were saying there's just a tiny layer of polish that I think could have made it a perfect experience rather than it just felt rough around the edges, you know? And the boss fights, for the most part, they lean heavily on boss fights in this game, and for the most part, they're kind of uninteresting. You just kind of shoot the glowy bit, and what you were saying is that's what you do in a shooter.
It's hard to do something different in a shooter, right? Because you haven't introduced other elements like extra weapons or items. This isn't a game where you're using items or other abilities.
I wish it was.
It's a down-the-barrel game.
Yeah.
But I think that it's the down-the-barrel game that keeps it grounded enough that you enjoy the other part. If you didn't have that, think about his other games where you easily get mired in, what am I supposed to be doing? And it's too avant-garde in the game mechanic design. Here you have a foundation you know how to play, so you can enjoy all the rest of the game.
I would say for my money, the thing I would love out of boss fights, and then I think Gears of War 3 may have done, if I'm remembering correctly, is it doesn't need to ramp up the difficulty level. It just needs to ramp up the fun. You know, like ramp up the
Just
scale.
make it so easy.
Just make it funner.
No, but I mean, like, let's make it huger and like I'm thinking of even Uncharted, like the sequence on the trucks when you're jumping from truck to truck. Like that isn't more difficult than the previous levels. It's just this awesome, amazing experience, cinematic experience I'm having. It's a special experience that the rest of the levels don't have that.
Totally
Gears of War
agree.
3 had the big set piece where we're taking down that. It's almost like a pirate level, right? And it's like that is a ramp up in scale, not a ramp up in difficulty.
Boss mechanics are to me an old vestige of gaming, and now we can do big cinematic experiences. And I agree. I think big cinematic experiences could have really topped this thing off with something special.
Yeah.
But I want to bring out something Dan pointed out, which is the light and dark interplay.
Right.
You know, that could have been a throwaway, and not even just a throwaway. It could have been something that went back to the well over and over for the same thing.
Or it could have been frustrating.
Or it could have been frustrating because they introduced this darkness, and then you have to get out of the darkness because it causes injury to Garcia after a short amount of time. But they come at it with so many different approaches.
Yeah.
There's temporary ways to get rid of the darkness. There's times you need the darkness. There's times that you bring the darkness back so that you can attack another enemy. And they have these different dynamics. They had so many ideas with that it kept fresh.
I completely agree.
I'm really impressed by that.
I completely agree, and I also agree with your statement about the tone, because I could have easily been put off by the sort of going back to the same, gutter humor, but it doesn't take itself seriously, and it's having so much fun, and there's puns, and it's just, you kind of buy into the whole thing.
Did you read any of those books?
Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
awesome.
They're long.
Yeah, they're really long.
And they tell the stories of those minor demons that you meet. You're like, okay, so that's why his skin's on backwards.
So I think Shadows of the Damned is a gem that I think in this kind of summer lull period might be something you want to seek out, because it's something we enjoyed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And for this,
Here we go.
explosion.
All right, everybody, be sure to stick around for this day in rad history. But first, we want to thank our sponsors, AN Hosting. AN Hosting has been providing simple and affordable web hosting. Are you all right?
I'm right.
Since 2001. It features an exclusive discount, 3 months of free web hosting for TRS viewers, a free domain, and $100 of search engine credits for Google and Yahoo with sign-up.
It's like all you need to get going.
It's everything you need to get going. And not only that, if you have a problem getting going, which you shouldn't, but if you do, 24/7 US-based phone, chat, and email support.
Wow.
Over 100 popular scripts like Drupal, WordPress, you can install in just one click. Head over to anhosting.com/TRS to get your 3 months of web hosting.
For free!
For free! We will be at Comic-Con soon, people.
Oh, yeah.
Friday night, the 22nd.
Get ready.
Be there and be square.
Live.
Tomorrow, we take a look at the TV pilots Lock and Key and Wonder Woman.
Today is July 4th. Happy 4th of July. I almost said Father's Day.
Yeah, Americans.
On this day in rad history, back in 1996, Hotmail, the first web mail service, is commercially launched. First off, the fact that Hotmail was the first webmail service is amazing.
Do you guys judge people based on their @whatever.com?
When it's at AOL, yeah.
Why are you worried about that?
No, I mean, does
Mr.
at
at
Hotmail,
Yahoo.
does that at Hotmail kind of, I think
Hotmail got
it's a little
taken over.
ghettoized.
I don't think Hotmail exists anymore. It got taken over by
A lot of
Live.
people still have it.
Isn't it Live or something?
A lot of
Yeah.
people still have at Hotmail.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm not-
I
At
don't think
AOL, you're right. I always go,
AOL is the
"Ugh."
only one where it's like, really, you're still using AOL? I mean,
Yeah.
but the weird thing is, I don't feel that way about AIM, the AOL Instant Messenger.
Right.
That's perfectly fine for people to use for whatever reason.
Because that became the standard.
Yeah, but for the most part, if anybody, because Gmail is so ubiquitous now that
Yeah.
the way that you feel about a free mail service is not, because I remember the way it used to be was it was like, oh, you have one of those free mail services, you don't have like at that domain whereyouwork.com or at yourname.com.
Yeah.
That was sort of the thing, but now for whatever reason, at Gmail, even if you're a professional, doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, because you're choosing to use it because it's a better service than your company may supply. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, happy. Oh, thank you, at Hatchatalaja.
At Hejalti. HJALTI.